It was one of those quiet mornings when the streets were still wet from the early drizzle, and the sound of delivery trucks echoed faintly through the mist. Evan Miller, a middle-aged delivery man, sat inside his van staring at a small brown package in his hands. The address was smudged, unreadable in parts, but the GPS insisted it belonged to a house at the end of Willow Street. He sighed, rubbed his tired eyes, and stepped out of the van. The cold air hit his face as he walked down the narrow lane, unaware that this one wrong delivery would soon change more than just his route. It would touch hearts and lives in ways no one could have imagined. If you believe in kindness and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel, because sometimes it takes just one small act to remind us what humanity truly means. Evan reached the house, a small white wooden structure that looked abandoned. The paint was peeling, and the porch sagged slightly. The grass was long uncut, and a small for sale sign leaned against the fence. He placed the package on the porch and knocked twice. No answer. He took a picture for delivery proof and turned to leave, but as he did, he heard a faint scratching from behind the door. A weak, desperate sound that made him pause for a second. But then he brushed it off, thinking it was the wind, and walked back to his van inside the house. A golden retriever named Max lay curled beside the door, weak and trembling. His owner, Mrs. Jenkins, had passed away 3 days ago, leaving him alone in the silence. He had not eaten since then. He did not understand death. All he knew was that his world had gone quiet, and the door no longer opened. When he barked, the smell of her faded perfume still lingered in the air, a memory he could not let go of when he heard the knock earlier. Hope flared in his tired eyes, and he had tried to scratch the door open, thinking maybe she had returned that afternoon. A young waitress named Lily passed by the old house on her way home from work. She was carrying a small bag of leftover bread from the diner where she worked, and humming softly to herself when she heard the sound of faint barking. It was weak and broken, like someone crying. She stopped, turned her head, and listened again. The sound came from the White House. She hesitated for a moment, then walked toward it. When she reached the porch, she saw the small brown package near the door, and through the dusty window she saw movement. A golden retriever stood there looking at her with desperate eyes. Her heart ached. She tried the door, and it creaked open. The smell inside was heavy with loneliness. The dog limped toward her, wagging his tail weakly. She could see the bones under his fur. She knelt down, placed her hand on his head, and felt warmth and sadness all at once. She found an empty food bowl near the kitchen counter, and realized what had happened. The woman who had lived there was gone. She ran back to her small apartment, grabbed some leftover food, and returned to feed him. The way he looked at her as he ate broke something inside her. It was as if he was thanking her without words. The next morning, Evan realized he had made a mistake. The address had been wrong by one number. He drove back to correct it. The sun was setting when he arrived, and there on the porch he saw a waitress sitting with the same dog beside her. The dog's head rested on her lap. She looked up when she saw him and smiled faintly. He explained the delivery error, and she told him about the dog and how she had found him. Evan felt a strange heaviness in his chest as he listened. It reminded him of the dog he had lost years ago during the divorce, when his wife left with their children. He had stopped believing in companionship since then. But seeing that golden retriever nuzzled into her lap stirred something old and forgotten. He sat down beside her for a moment, and together they watched the sunset. The package forgotten between them. It was addressed to Samuel Jenkins, the husband of the deceased woman. Evan sighed, and said quietly, "Maybe this package was never meant to reach anyone else." Lily smiled and said softly, "Maybe it reached exactly where it needed to." From that day, Evan visited, often bringing dog food and supplies. Lily would greet him with coffee, and together they took care of Max. The three of them became an unlikely little family in that forgotten corner of the neighborhood. They cleaned the old house and filled it with small signs of life again. The dog began to recover, and the spark in his eyes returned. Lily laughed more, and Evan began to talk about his life, his regrets, and the emptiness that once consumed him. The wrong package had somehow delivered hope to people who needed it. Most weeks passed, and the bond between them deepened every evening. Evan stopped by the diner to see Lily, and Max waited outside, wagging his tail joyfully. Whenever she came out to serve customers, people started recognizing the trio: the kind waitress, the quiet mailman, and the loyal golden retriever. They became a familiar and comforting sight to many. and without realizing it, their kindness began to spread. Others in the neighborhood started leaving food for stray animals and checking on lonely neighbors, all because of one dog and one mistake. One rainy night, Lily finished her shift late. The streets were slippery, the rain falling in sheets. Evan was waiting in his truck nearby with Max in the passenger seat when Lily waved and began crossing the street. A speeding car came out of nowhere. Its headlights cut through the darkness, blinding everything. Max barked loudly, leapt from the truck and ran toward her. He reached her just in time, pushing her back out of the path of the oncoming car. The sound of the brakes, the scream of tires, and then silence. Evan rushed out, his heart pounding. He found Lily on the ground, shaken but safe. Max lay beside her, whimpering, his fur wet with rain and dirt. Evan lifted him in his arms, tears mixing with the rain as he drove to the nearest vet. The night seemed endless. The vet worked quickly, saying Max had internal injuries, but there was a chance he saved her life. The vet whispered softly, and Evan nodded, unable to speak. Lily stayed by Max's side for days, refusing to leave. She held his paw, whispering softly about how he was her hero. Evan visited every morning, bringing coffee and food. They both knew that what Max had done could never be repaid. He had become more than a dog. He was a symbol of everything good that still existed in the world of people too busy to notice. When Max finally opened his eyes again, both of them were there, smiling through tears. Evan laughed for the first time in years, and Lily cried softly into Max's fur. That small moment felt larger than life. The wrong package had found its way to the right hearts, and through one loyal soul, humanity had found its reflection. Months later, Lily moved into the little white house. She turned it into a small animal rescue center. Evan helped on weekends, repairing fences, delivering food, and laughing again. Max became the face of their kindness project. People donated from all over town, inspired by the story of the dog who knocked on the wrong door and changed everything. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to help spread kindness and hope, because stories like this remind us that even the smallest mistakes can lead to the most beautiful miracles. Before you go, comment below one word that describes what you felt for Max, the loyal dog who taught everyone that humanity still lives in small acts of love, because sometimes a package goes to the wrong address, but finds the right home in the hearts that need it most.